The original Spyro the Dragon trilogy spearheaded the Spyro franchise with much praise and acknowledgement. It was the start of a great game series, and the third game left an opening for more potential titles for the Spyro license after Insomniac Games moved on. However, what happened to Spyro next was something fans couldn't predict nor understand until years later. This was the start of the Spyro franchise's downward spiral. It began in 2002 with Spyro Into the Dragonfly, 2 years after the third console game, Spyro Year of the Dragon. Because of constant development issues, the game was released as an incomplete product that affected its release and how many consumers saw the Spyro franchise. In spite of the disaster that was Enter the Dragonfly, more Spyro games were made. Several were developed for the Nintendo Game Boy Advance. Then the fifth console game title, Spyro A Hero's Tale, was made for the Xbox, PlayStation 2, and Nintendo GameCube. However, this game, along with the other handheld Spyro games, were met with mixed or negative reception, and they didn't get as many sales as the original PlayStation 1 Spyro trilogy. In 2005, the Nintendo DS game, Spyro Shadow Legacy, was released as a direct sequel to A Hero's Tale, and its story ended on a cliffhanger. What many didn't know was that Spyro Legacy was going to be the very last Spyro game of the series. According to a 2008 interview with Game Informer on The Legend of Spyro Dawn of the Dragon, that's linked in the description below, Vivendi Universal saw how poorly the Spyro series was doing after Enter the Dragonfly, and they were going to completely retire the franchise. That meant no more games would be made after Shadow Legacy, and the franchise would have ended on a cliffhanger that would never get a continuation. The Spyro series would have been left in the dark, quite possibly forever. The producers from Vivendi Universal, Michael Graham and Christopher Wilson, first worked on the Spyro series starting with Spyro Shadow Legacy in 2005. After its release, they were faced with the decision to either completely retire the Spyro franchise or reboot it. Despite the risk of alienating the Spyro fanbase, Michael and Chris chose to save Spyro by rebooting the franchise with the Legend of Spyro continuity. They were charged with creating a new universe for Spyro, a new world suited for a dragon. Spyro's origins were revamped to make way for potential stories down the line. We've seen how the story went in The Legend of Spyro A New Beginning, The Eternal Night, and lastly, Dawn of the Dragon. While the producers had hopes that the Legend reboot would continue on, it unfortunately didn't come to be. After Vivendi Games and Sierra merged with Activision in 2008, it was around that time of the merger that Activision chose to do more with the Spyro the Dragon license by rebooting Spyro again. Presumably, it's because Activision saw the Spyro license ripe for reinvention that would increase its appeal, even though the Legend of Spyro trilogy attempted to do just that. While the Legend of Spyro reboot was criticized for changing Spyro's character and his universe, it was instrumental in extending his lifespan for a couple of more years that led to his inclusion in the Skylanders franchise and back to his main spotlight in the Spyro Reignited trilogy. Without the Legend of Spyro, the Spyro character probably would have been on hiatus for more than a decade. Or worse, left to rot along with the whole franchise, never to be brought back again until Spyro's IP holder sees profit in reviving him. Fans were introduced to Spyro through the Legend reboot, and learned Spyro's history in the process. While the reboot was very short-lived, it garnered tons of attention that it became a cult following for those who enjoy mature, darker stories about dragons. I'm a little bummed that its potential was heavily hampered by time constraints and the low budget set for the games, but it was enjoyable while it lasted. Thanks for watching! Be sure to like, favorite, and subscribe. Don't forget to drop by the Magic Crafters Spyro forums to talk with other Spyro fans on the Spyro franchise. The link to the forum is also posted in the description below.